Hello and welcome to the Leading Lounge. I'm your host, Dr. Justin Dubose. Here in the Leading Lounge, we talk with today's leaders and unpack lessons learned and being learned from a career of leading and communicating in their field. These conversations are designed to be both informal and informative, and we want to equip you with wisdom and tools to empower you as a leader where you are and where you want to be. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 27 of the Leading Lounge. This is our first interview of season 4, and I'm so very happy you joined us. Today's interview is a special one for me personally because the couple I interview is a cross-cultural couple who live most of the year in Honduras, where they run a school, and then they live part of the year, the summers, usually up in Canada. And they're a cross-cultural couple. She is from Canada. He is from Honduras, and the work that they do is fascinating because they lead a bilingual private school down in Honduras. It's outside the city in a poorer village, and that particular work was started by her parents, and that work is actually what brought them together. But they have to exercise real visionary leadership in this cross-cultural environment where they're both speaking languages that aren't their first language. They're both trying to lead into a vision that's bigger than either of them and bigger than the two of them combined and bigger than the current work that they do. And so you're constantly trying to lead people into the future by showing them the present, which in the past was what you were casting vision toward in the future. And so it's just a fascinating work and incredibly complex when it comes to leadership and communication. And I'm so very grateful for their time. And they are particularly close to my heart, even more than they know, I'm sure, because we went down there with a group last spring, almost a year ago. And I got to see for myself the work that they do. I brought my family down and they began to cast vision. Nelveen began to cast vision to me about a seminary, adult education beyond just the children, grade school education that they do now. And I caught the vision, and God ended up using that time and those conversations to really give more purpose to Communicate to Care and the work that I do through Communicate to Care. So all the leadership coaching and products and services and things that I do with clients in Communicate to Care, all of that goes toward getting people and resources and stuff down to Honduras to start a seminary, to start adult education, which is very lacking down there where they are. Nelveen was telling me in private conversations that he had to go to Nicaragua to get some theological education because the only thing that's there is in the city, and it's a Catholic school, Catholic seminary. So these guys are very special to me, and their input in this interview was fascinating because of how nuanced the work is, that it's not just monolingual, monocultural, leading with what you've got. You're leading into the future, having to use a language that's not your first. And so it's fascinating. So I love these guys to death, and we're looking forward to seeing them again this summer. We're going back down, bringing another group to help them get some English classes started, which I'm really excited about, which you're going to serve as kind of the first classes for this seminary that we're laboring and trusting will go off. So I know you'll be blessed by this interview and by their wisdom and by their insight, and they're just the great stories that they tell about the work that they do. I will have some links available in the description if you're on YouTube, or in the show notes if you're listening on Apple Podcast or wherever. So you can check out Vita Academy, their social media links, their website, and a contact link for them, which they share at the end of this interview. So please reach out to them. I know they'd love to hear from you. I know they'd love your prayer support, your financial support. They'd love to host groups down there. It's one of the things that they mentioned in the interview is getting people down there is really kind of the game changer. And I can speak to that from our experience last summer. So be blessed by this interview, enjoy it, and give them a shout when you can. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Leading Lounge. Today I've got two special guests with me, a married couple who are, at least today, they're down in Honduras. They just did some summer vacation with family up in Canada. But Charisse and Nelvine, I really appreciate you guys giving me some of your time out of a busy schedule where you're getting ready for the school year to start, and sharing with me a little bit about how you lead the school there and some of the lessons you've learned. So I'll just throw this first question at you, and however you want to answer it, be my guest, but it's your chance to kind of let us get to know you. So first question is, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, for both of you, a little bit about yourself and the professional journey that got you to where you are today at Vida Academy?
Awesome. Well, first of all, thanks for having us today, and we look forward to the conversations, I guess, and sharing a little bit about what we do here in Honduras. To start with that first question, I guess about ourselves and our professional journey. I'm Charisse. I am from Canada. And I grew up in a missionary family that spent a lot of time here in Honduras. So that definitely was a big reason or influence in my decision now to work as a missionary here in Honduras. Through my time as a young person in Honduras, I saw and was really drawn to education. And in that, I saw all the inequities and all the issues and the problems in the education system here in Honduras, where, especially in rural locations, the poorest people are at the most disadvantaged, and the whole system really just works against them from completing and receiving a quality education that would lead them to success in the future. So that really impacted me in my decision then later on to study education in Canada, both like a bachelor's degree and then a master's degree as well. And then I guess, maybe Nelvine wants to share then. You can say what happened.
Well, hello. Thanks, Pastor Justin, for having us. My name is Nelvine Garcia, and I'm from Honduras. I come from a different kind of context series. I didn't grow up with my family, and somehow God has been putting people in my life that has been supporting me and helping me to become an adult. And when I came to the mission, like more than 10 years ago, I think, God changed my heart. He spoke to me, and the way how I am his son, and he loves me so much as a father. And that gave me a perspective of a father for like many kids and youth. So I become part of this youth and kids ministry here in this rural area with the mission, Adventure Missions. And then, I had the opportunity of meeting Charisse, and is this story about us, but in the professional area, I studied for a little bit architecture, but then I felt how God was calling me to work more in the field of theology. So that's why I moved to study theology, and I just finished my program this year. And so now I'm starting a new program of education, because I think that God has given Charisse this big dream of the school Vida here in El Cacao, Tiapa, this rural community, and I want to be like part of the of this project. And I'm here supporting Charisse and God's plan. I don't know.
Yeah. I was just reminded, I saw on Facebook the other day that Nelby and I had been friends on Facebook for like 10 years. So we met about 10 years ago here in Honduras. And Nelby was a part, a youth or a young person leader, I guess, inside the mission. And now we've been married for 5 years. So, and at the same time that we got married is when we really felt God leading us in this vision or this project of Vida Christian Academy, which the heart behind the school that we have is to make bilingual education bilingual because it opens up so many more doors for our students, more opportunities, and of course, a Christian education so that our students can grow up and learn and be discipled in the good news of Jesus and be prepared then together with academics and with this relationship with Jesus to go into all areas of society and really just reflect Jesus and be leaders that would make positive changes here in Honduras. So we started about 5 years ago. And we first started with just pre-K to grade 1. And this year now, we've added a grade on every year and we'll have up to grade 5. So our students are coming from different rural communities. Lots of them travel quite a distance to come to school. And our vision has always been to have students make sure that the education was available to students from some of the most impoverished families from the area. So while there's like a tuition cost, it is made accessible to most middle class families through just general donations. But then we have additional sponsorships for children from some of the most poor and impoverished families. So we have a mix of students that get to learn together, see the world from each other's perspectives. And we are really excited, especially for some of our students, knowing where they've come from, knowing that they're the first generation in their family that is going to read, that will, of course, be bilingual, and even just the first generation that's actually going to go to school and finish even just primary education, let alone high school, which is where we hope to go in the future.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Big introduction. A pretty long introduction, so I think we're done.
No, that's good. There's a lot to share. So in fact, I was going to ask you to share just a little bit more. So the mission was around before Vida, right?
Yeah, so Vida Christian Academy is a ministry of Adventure in Mission. So Adventure in Missions was founded by my parents and a few other people as well over 30 years ago. And just through time, it first started clearly quite small, and they were just taking teams down a couple of times a year, and teams mostly from Canada, sometimes from the States. And then as things developed, there were some more permanent ministries, and we had a more permanent location, which is where we are now, El Cacao, outside of La Ceiba. And the first permanent ministry that they had was the medical clinic. So then this medical clinic was running all year round, and it is staffed by Honduran professionals, and then of course receives lots of support from different volunteers or missionaries that come, whether short term or longer term.
That's great. Yeah, that's fantastic. I know we were really impressed. My wife's a nurse, and we went down there and didn't exactly know, what it would be first time down there. But man, you guys have really good ministry, really big footprint. So you guys met at the mission, through the mission, and then started the school together after you were married, or about the time you got married. Does that sound right?
Yes, yeah. So we knew each other for several years. We met each other several years later. We got married. When we got married is right after I had finished my university degree. And then it was like in that time then that we started to prepare the things to start a school. And I guess after like 1 year of marriage is when the school like officially opened.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, yeah, so the focus of this podcast is leadership and communication, and you guys have a really unique, I haven't interviewed anybody quite like you two, where you have to, both of you mentioned the vision, right? The vision for school and for education and for like generational transformation down there in Honduras. So it's what you're doing is bigger than the two of you, which is in part how I got connected with the two of you. So the vision that you have for the school and for the mission requires you to have a support network beyond yourselves to help it grow and to help it flourish. So one of my questions for you guys, for either or both of you, is what's something you've learned through your experience about what works and maybe what doesn't work in gathering support for the mission there?
Yeah, well, I'll answer this or at least part. Yeah, I think something very important is like the physical support, and also financial support. But I think like when people come here and they connect with the people here and they talk a little bit with the people in the community, and sometimes they will say something like, "Oh, I've been praying for you," and people are here get this impression like, "What? Somebody has been praying for me for like, but you don't know me," kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when people come here as volunteers and they share the love of God and how they feel about being here, kind of thing, I think God is working through that, and the people can feel that really God is like is thinking or like have plans for you, and that's for the community, right? But for us as a missionaries here, like full-time kind of thing, is very, very encouraging when people come and like we talk, we pray, we worship together, we share what God is doing. Like that connection is so important for growing as a mission. And and something that I will say doesn't work is like working by yourself, like working alone, like that disconnection. It doesn't work. Like we experienced it in like these past years with the pandemic. It was so hard and I think that any or every missionary around the world experience it the same. They felt like somehow alone, somehow like that they were working hard in their field, right? It's because they and we need this connection with the family of God, right? From God family, yes. Yeah.
So when you say, like, how did being alone in the pandemic affect you? Was it just because nobody was coming down there and you guys were just kind of plowing the field by yourself?
Yeah, I think that, like, of course, like during a lot of time during the pandemic, when there's so many travel restrictions and people just like, we're not going to be bringing a group down or even coming, for individuals coming down was really complicated. It's easy to become, as ourselves, like as missionaries, to feel isolated from the church, from the global church, I think that's something that's like really special when people come down on a team, is that for us as missionaries that are here, it helps us to be part of a community that shares the same vision as us. Of course, it's not like there's not a single, there's not other people that are working with us here that share that vision, but to have more of a community where there are people that are able to pour into us, not just where we're serving other people.
Yeah.
And yeah, just the community and the encouragement and to kind of like alleviate some of the isolation that can happen when you're working, especially in like a rural location.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. And you guys still are funded or supported by funds, right? Like people give to Adventures in Missions, and that's what helps fund you guys and the school, correct?
Yes, yeah. Like ourselves personally, there's different individuals that support us directly via the mission, and then the school as well, and the other ministries of Adventure Mission really rely on donations by individual people or by church organizations.
So as far as like, I guess, gathering support in that sense, do you find that when you're communicating with them, like the vision of, what God is doing and what he is going to do, do you find that is like, for us, going down there was the best possible option because you see it, you touch it, you smell it, you taste it, and you're like, oh yeah, this is like, we're in. But do you find sharing that vision is compelling to people as far as getting them to support what you're doing?
Yeah, I think that people are definitely more inclined, or it's a much more open to hearing God's voice, or his as far as like supporting financially or in other ways, if they're able to come down to Honduras and see it for their own eyes, and experience it, or just in different times they're able to like meet people when we go and visit them, either like back in Canada or as well in the States, or communicating that way, just so that they can see or understand a little bit. If you don't come down, it's really hard to like really understand exactly.
Yeah.
If you don't come from like any context, but yeah.
No, that works. Okay, I want to move on to good answers. I want to move on to the next one. So yeah, thank you guys for that. Very helpful, and encourage anybody who's listening at the end of the interview, I'm going to give you guys a chance to share information, but for people, I would encourage you go see it for yourself, be a part of it. But so next question is specifically about communication. So both of you guys in different ways live and work every day in cross-cultural settings. I know, Nelveen, you're a local, you're from Honduras. Sharice, you spent a lot of your years there growing up. But both of you had to learn a language that wasn't native to you so that you could communicate with people and families you're trying to reach. So my question is, what valuable insights have you learned about communicating with other people effectively that you could share with us? And particularly in cross-cultural settings, communication is hard, like English speaker to English speaker or Spanish speaker to Spanish speaker. But, when you get in cross-cultural settings, it's even more challenging. So what's some wisdom you found in communicating with people in these cross-cultural settings?
Yeah. I think for me, learning Spanish and now still continuing to learn Spanish, but working and interacting with parents, and kind of need to be like somewhat of like a professional setting, and trying to communicate in a way that reflects that. But the most important thing to me has to always be humble about how you're communicating, and to never assume that the person like fully understands what you're trying to communicate. So definitely, as far as like humility, it's good to try not to brush ahead. Maybe like I would say to like have your eyes open, your ears open, before you open your mouth. And in that way, read the situation, look at what other people are doing, kind of discover like what is the norm in this type of a situation. And as you have like some different cross-cultural experiences, then you begin to see, okay, these are like common things that differentiate between cultures. And just because I think it's like totally normal to do it this way, or to dress this way, or to do, interact in this way, it doesn't mean it's going to be that way in every single culture.
Right.
But it's really important to stay humble. If you are not humble and you begin to learn another language, or however humble you are and you begin to learn another language, you will learn more humility because it can be quite challenging to not be able to express yourself the way that you want to. And then like in another culture to, realize later on that you made some mistakes, or that maybe you did some things that could be conceived as unusual or weird. But yeah, and then definitely always learning ways to check in and see, did this person really understand? If I'm giving some instructions or communicating something important, did they really understand what I was saying? And to be open with other people that, oh, I'm still just learning and I don't always know. Is it okay if I do things this way? I always ask Nelvin, does this make sense? Was this rude? Was this a professional, like something a professional would do? Is this the appropriate thing to wear? All those common things that are harder for me to understand, even when I've been here for quite a few years. I continue to learn.
Yeah, you just don't know what you don't know, right? Until somebody tells you.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, what about for you, Nelvin? So I'm interested in you too, because you guys spend at least the summers or parts of the summers in Canada, sharing about the church, and you interact with people like me who don't know, very much Spanish at all. And so on the English side, like, what are some things you've learned too? Or maybe you're still learning?
Yeah, of course, I'm still learning. It's like, yeah, it's like a big process, right? And like, I didn't grow up knowing English, so I like, it was very, or like, maybe I would say like education here is not like, doesn't have the world perspective the same way maybe as you guys. When you go to school here, everything is centered in like in Honduras, like knowing everything about Honduras, like, and when you meet somebody from outside, you are like, what? It's so different. And I remember the first time I went to study in Canada. I studied English for some time there, and it was so weird, like seeing people from different countries, and like, and I was like there, right, trying to say something, and like, here we are very, did you say warm? Like very like communicative. Yeah, but some people there are not, and you are like trying to talk sometimes, and yeah, so it has been like a challenge at first. Now it's like, for me, it's like this experience that helps me to work better here in the mission, because now, like, when we have volunteers coming, I don't know like all about the culture, where they are coming from, but it has helped me to understand that there are differences in culture, and I need to, like, as Therese was saying, being humble, and like yeah, that maybe before I need to observe what is going on, and then like I can afford my part. But yeah, I don't know if that's like.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful. That's great. Yeah, so my two youngest daughters, whom you both met, are in dual language programs at school. So, you know, a day in English and a day in Spanish, or half a day in English, half a day in Spanish. And I was talking to their teachers and asked them a version of this question, and they mentioned humility, and they also mentioned curiosity. They were like, you know, if just ask questions, you know, because I mean, you don't know what you don't know, kind of like you were saying, Charisse. So they were like, it's a humbling experience, but it's a good experience too, to just have to learn and go, oh, this is what other people feel like when, you know, when they can't exactly say what they want to say, you know, or don't know how to say it. So no, that's I appreciate that. Those are good answers. So one question I ask everybody, and it's really a follow-up question about communication, and one or both of you can answer, but is I love to hear about times. So my theory is people can identify more with your failures than they can your successes. Everybody knows what, you know, failure feels like. So, and it also presents really great growth opportunities. So can you tell us about a time when you would say you failed at communicating and what you learned from that experience, and how did that change your approach to communication, if at all, after that?
Okay, I have a story came to my mind when you asked this question. This happened to me when I was learning Spanish, and I was like a little bit of an older teenager, and I was kind of at that point where I guess I thought that I knew a lot of Spanish because I could more or less communicate with my friends. And we needed a translator at a medical clinic, so I offered or I was roped into doing it, and I thought that I could do it. So I was translating for a patient and a doctor, and the patient was speaking Spanish and the doctor speaking English. And the patient told me that they were constipado. And apparently now Naveen's telling me that the word may have like more than one meaning, but the patient wanted to say that they had a cold and they were stuffed up. And I don't know if I had never heard this word before, but constipado sounds a lot like constipated.
Yeah, my thought.
So I told the doctor, oh, this patient, they're constipated. And then the doctor was like, oh, ask them when the last time was that they went to the bathroom or had a bowel movement. And I tried to find the right words to say bowel movement without feeling too awkward. And the patient was just really confused. And they answered, and they asked some more questions about their diet or other symptoms or pain in their stomach. And then the patient got a little bit more and more confused. And then it became apparent that they were not constipated, that they had a stuffed nose and cold medication. And it was, when I started realizing that there was this misunderstanding, I was kind of flustered and I was embarrassed that I didn't know and I made a mistake and thought someone was constipated. And I guess I just realized, one, it was like, okay, Charisse, you need to, you may have overestimated yourself. You might not quite be ready for translating in a medical context. But yeah, one, I learned a new word and a new meaning, and kind of knowing a little bit more about start to get confused, better to just step back and own up to your mistakes, and also kind of gauge, I guess, what you actually know and what you don't know. But
yeah, that's great. That's a great story. Naveen, did you have anything you wanted to share or no?
Yeah, I might have one story too. Well, but maybe you noticed when you were here that here when we met somebody, we kind of hug, we say hi, we're like very interactive that way. And yeah, when I went to Canada, it was shocking too, like seeing people that don't make eye contact with you and say hi. Like I was like, what? Where they're not doing that? Why they're not like saying hi when I say hi? And maybe I don't know, probably in their view, they were like, what a weird guy kind of thing. I don't know. Because I was saying hi to everybody, like the way how I do it in my culture, right?
Right.
So I think that was a little bit like a little fail in my communication, but also like it's very quiet there when you drive. It's so quiet because here we honk to say hi to the other car kind of thing. But I think in like in the States in Canada, I think you honk when you're
mad.
you're mad, right?
Yeah.
Here,
Only when
yeah.
you're telling somebody to get out of my way.
Yeah. Here in Honduras, you have a honk for saying hi, honk
Yeah.
for saying like thank you or like let me by. Anyone if you're upset.
Then when they hold hard the honk, I
Mhm.
guess they are mad here, right?
Mhm.
But when they just do like beep beep or something like that, you're like hey kind of thing, right? So that was very shocking too, like seeing different way of communication and traffic, I guess. It's like very interesting.
Yeah, that's a great example because it's not just like words; it's so many cultural, honking horns. Yeah, like, yeah, good story. I can't remember if I told you guys a story or not, but mine is similar to yours, Charisse, except I still don't know Spanish. But I was speaking. I got asked to go sing at a church, a Hispanic church, when I was in college, and I was learning Spanish, and really was like, oh, I got this down. And so they offered a translator, and I was like, no, it's okay, I got it. And so I was trying to introduce this song, Give Me Jesus. And did I tell you guys this story already?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so I was trying to introduce this song, and I had somebody translate the words to the song for me so that I could sing it in Spanish, but I was just kind of freestyling the introduction of the song to these people. And so I thought I was saying, the name of the song is Give Me Jesus. And apparently what in Spanish came out was like, I gave them a command to bring Jesus to me.
Yeah.
And I also didn't realize that Jesus was a really common Spanish name. And so I'm in the middle of introducing the song, and like these two guys start kind of bringing this guy up who looks, kind of afraid. And, I was like, what is going on? And I didn't know that like they were bringing Jesus to me. And the poor guy probably thought he was like, I don't know, about to get sacrificed or something. I don't know what was going on. But anyway, that was when I was like, oh, I should probably take people's help, when they offer it, as far as translation goes. But anyway, no, I love hearing stories. Those are great stories, and highlight what you guys just said a minute ago about the importance of having humility, in cross-cultural settings. So thanks for that. Another question that I like to ask everybody, and last question I'll ask you before I give you the chance to share more about Vita Academy, is for both of you, if the present you, Vita Academy administrator and all that, could visit with a younger version of yourself, maybe before Vita started, what advice about leadership would you give your younger self?
Well, something I think it's important in every field, but for us, maybe the idea of asking for advices to people that already were running a similar project, because like sometimes you have this beautiful dream or vision and you're like trying to run to make it possible, right? And then there are some stones on the way kind of thing, and you might then you learn from it, but it might be better if you had asked somebody about those kind of process. And I know that like no all of the processes are the same, right? But in in this field of education, some of them are similar, right? The process, like with like the government, like all the paperwork and like the systems, how you manage like the teachers, the materials, like the chairs, tables, so all that is a very complex thing to make it for your own, when maybe other people already have the experience. So I would say from us, maybe is this idea of telling my younger Nelvin and younger is like, there are more people that already are running a school, so maybe you can chat with them, you can make appointments, you can ask questions about what did they learn, how did they do it, and those kind of things. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, I think I would like, one thing that I would tell myself would, first of all, that it's okay to make mistakes. Just focus less on the mistakes that you make and more on your recovery and moving forward after those mistakes. And definitely ask other people for help. And trust your instincts and your abilities. And when you're making like different leadership decisions or dealing with different conflicts between staff members or situations, and that you will continue to grow, and I continue to grow. Just like lean into that growth and lean into the difficult things, so that so that you can continue to grow in the future. And you can kind of then forget about the mistakes you make and just be focused on what's ahead.
Yeah. Being open to learn from your own mistakes sometimes is the best, the best recipe for success. I was going to tell you one more story real quick because I love stories, but you guys have mentioned a lot about humility and the importance of it, which I think is true no matter what, but particularly in a cross-cultural setting, and you guys running a school and leading staff and all that other kind of thing. Well, I don't know if this is a true story. It was told to me as though it were a true story, but I had someone who worked for a missions agency, and they said that the way they used to screen people to see if they would be a good fit for the mission field is they would bring them in, and what they told them was, you're gonna go through this exam to see if you're, suitable for the mission field. And so people would prepare. They would give them this really vague kind of instructions like that, and so people would prepare for like theology questions and all this kind of stuff. And what they did was the people would fly into the airport and they would pick them up late. So they'd wait at the airport for 2 or 3 hours before they got picked up, and then they would come pick them up and they would drive them to the place where they were going to do the exam, and they'd have them sit in the waiting room, and they'd wait in the waiting room for, I don't know how long, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours maybe, and they'd have them sit there and wait for that. And then when they called them in, they would ask them a question. Like one example they gave me was, okay, thank you for coming, appreciate your patience. Can you spell the word cat for us? And they would be like, spell the word cat? And they were like, yes, can you spell the word cat? And they were like, sure, C-A-T, cat. And they were like, hey, great, that's great. How about dog? Can you spell the word dog? Well, anyway, they'd ask them these like 4 or 5 really almost like insulting questions, that like a 5-year-old could answer. And at the end, they were like, hey, you know what? We've determined that you're a great fit for the mission field because you're patient and you're humble, and, you can take insulting questions without getting really upset about it. And so their criteria for, are you a good fit for the mission field, is basically, are you humble and are you flexible? And so, when I hear you guys talking about what you've learned in communicating and how you lead, it sounds like just a lot of that. So, anyway, you guys reminded me of that story, and so I wanted to share it with you. But as the last question, I just want to give the opportunity to share with whoever might be listening, where can they go to find out some more information about Vida Academy? And you mentioned going there, but maybe explain for them a little bit, like how they can get involved. Is there a way they can get involved, either in giving or coming down there?
Yeah, well, if you're looking for more information, you can get some information, one, just about the mission in general, Adventure in Missions, by checking us out on Facebook and Instagram at Adventure in Missions. Missions with an S at the end of it, and as well as online on our website, adventureinmissions.com. And then there's a couple emails. So info@adventureinmissions is a great email to contact, info@adventureinmissions.com. And for Vida, you can also find us on Facebook, and that's a great way to kind of see what we're doing and be connected. By seeing what we're doing, that will give you some ideas about how you can be praying for us or praying for our students and our staff members, just by knowing what's the daily activities, I guess, that get posted on there. And that can be found just by searching Vida Christian Academy. Ways that you can be involved would definitely be by coming down here to Honduras. We love having teams come down, groups of people, either just like friends or church groups. But then we've also had people that come down individually, just on their own, that have a heart to serve and feel God's calling on them to come here to Honduras. So if you want to find out more information about how you can go about coming down here, then you can definitely send us an email or a message at the addresses that I said. And then as well, another way to be involved is through financial support, either like to us personally, or at the school we have lots of students that attend with a sponsorship. So that means that someone is helping them or is paying for the school fee so that they can attend Vida and be a student here with us.
Great. Well, hey, I appreciate you guys and your time. I appreciate the work that you do. It was, I think, maybe one of the greatest experiences our family has had is all going down there, us and our 5 kids loading up and going down to Honduras and spending a week with you guys. And so really, really grateful for what you do, and encourage whoever might be listening to check them out and get involved somehow. But anyway, Nelvin and Charisse, I appreciate your time, and pray God continues to bless the mission and the school and bring you more network and connections for people who can just kind of help see that vision come to reality.
Awesome. Thanks for having us and chatting with us and giving us a chance to share a little bit about what we do here.
Yeah. Well, God bless you both, and God bless you guys for listening. And we'll see you next time.